alive again. We've had this amazing conversation so far. I could sit here all day and continue this conversation as I could with lots of the conversations that I have. Let's talk about dysmorphia, which is body image.
Yeah.
And what we see is not what we actually are.
Yes.
So it's a, what would you call it? A disfigurement of the imagination.
It's a disfigurement of perception.
Perception, yes, of who we actually are. And that comes down to self-worth as well, doesn't it?
It does.
So it's self-worth, confidence, and that belief in who we are as a person, as an individual, and what circumstances surround us and all those sorts of things that affect dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to me.
So for me, my body dysmorphia started before I got married. I was told I was too chunky and I had to lose weight. So we're talking about anorexia. I developed that just before my wedding.
What size were you before you developed that?
Size 12.
Oh, okay.
I was size 8 when I got married.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not meant to be a size 8, I can tell you.
Neither am I. But a size 8 from a size 12?
Yeah.
Wow. In what period of time?
Probably in the space of 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah. I didn't have a long engagement, so pretty much throughout my engagement I was doing
starving
all sorts
yourself
of weight loss things.
Oh.
And pretty much the day of my wedding I was lightheaded and dizzy, and
because you hadn't eaten.
Possibly should have had a good meal and thought about what I was about to do.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, as soon as I got married, I got pregnant with my oldest son, and my body changed because it had been starved of nutrients. My mind wasn't in the right place. I certainly didn't like myself, and all of a sudden I had hormones in play and I had to eat to feed my child. So I stacked weight on.
But you didn't just stack weight on and go back to a size 12. You went to a
28.
A size
It's hard to say, 28.
28. What was that? The transition from a size 8 back to a size 12, from size 12 to an 8, back to a size 12, and then progressing to a 28. What was going on in your head? Was there anything, or did you...
To be honest, I was just driven by being a mum.
Right.
And that was the only thing, but I was emotionally eating. So I was so unhappy, even though I adored my child, that I ate. And I didn't think I was eating terribly the wrong things. In fact, I wasn't. But I was getting a packet of salad, and instead of feeding 6 out of a packet of woolly salad, I would sit down and eat it one meal. And I would have the croutons with it and the sauce and whatever. I would, instead of having one sandwich, I would eat 4 or 5 of them.
And that is 2 pieces of bread in a sandwich? So you'd eat...
Back then it was chicken, cheese and avocado sandwiches.
Well,
You can
chicken,
imagine the
cheese...
amount of fats and oils, and of course I'm having 4 or 5 of them.
And avocado is a good fat.
Not in the excess that I was having.
No, true. Okay, so you went from size 8 to size 28. That's 20 kilo. 20, no,
I actually
more than
hit
that.
144 kilos at my heaviest. Now, for anyone that
144.
has met me, I'm not a very tall person.
100. How did you get around?
I just managed. I still walked with my kids every day. I put them in the stroller and I walked with them.
But getting in and out of a car?
I learned how to swivel myself in and out of the seat.
Getting into a seat and getting out of a seat? Did you fly on a plane?
I did, and I had to pay for 2 seats. And that still wasn't enough for me to work out what was going on.
Right. Okay. You had very low self-esteem.
Very. If someone could have said to me, your kids will be looked after for the rest of their days, do you want to just disappear? I would have. Because I wanted the world to swallow me back then.
So what was that feeling? The feeling of not just feeling good enough?
Not feeling good enough, not loving myself, which is why I ended up writing the book. Being someone else's pawn all the time. I was trying to be the best wife. I was trying to be the best mother. I was trying to be the best daughter. But I couldn't seem to hit any of those marks.
Right. So the emotional roller coaster that you were on was just like this all the time.
Yeah.
All those years until when did you realise that you needed to lose this weight?
In 2009, I actually spoke to someone, and it was a doctor that I had back in Geelong, and he's since left medicine. And I said to him, look, I don't know what's going on. I was actually there to complain about what I thought was wrong with my thyroid, which they told me I was crazy. But this doctor basically put some pamphlets on the table, and they were funeral pamphlets. And my kids were little and playing around my feet. And he said, do you want to make this decision now, or do you want them to make it? And I snapped out of it that moment. I went and sought a trainer at a gym. It took me 3 goes of driving into the car park and driving away again before, on the 4th time, the trainer actually came out, took my keys out and grabbed my hand. So I started working with him, and that started turning my life around. Pretty amazing.
You know what? I know from experience of people going to gyms and the fear that they have walking in that door. Yeah. And if they walk in the door and they don't get the right reception, they walk out and they never go back again. And people who join the gym won't even stay for the 3 months.
Yes.
So you can thank that guy.
Totally. And you know what? It wasn't easy back then. I couldn't fit between the treadmills and the bikes to get through the aisles of the gym. It was a small gym. But you know what?
You persisted.
I did.
You persisted.
I remember one day he said, right, I want you to do 5 minutes on the recumbent bike. And on my way to the recumbent bike, I got stuck between a bike and a treadmill. And I was wedged there for quite a while. I was like, how do I get to the bike? And my trainer just stood behind me with his arms folded and said, work it out. You got 5 minutes on the bike.
Really?
Because if I'd given up at that moment, I would have given up completely.
How good was he?
Yeah. I was terrified of the mirrors in the gym. And he said, don't look. Just stop looking.
How amazing was that person to actually take you on board and teach you to start loving yourself again?
Yeah.
Congratulations to him.
Tough love it was.
And that's what it has to be sometimes, tough love. Because
part of me adored this guy and the rest of me wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
The problem was I couldn't kill him because I couldn't move that fast because there was so much of me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just had to deal with it.
How long did he train you?
He trained me for 2 years.
How much weight did you lose in that 2 years?
I went from the 28 to 16.
So you went from a size 28 to a 16. So 144 kilos down to...
I went down to about an 80 kilo.
80 kilos.
And I hovered there for a while, and then I put another 5 or 10 on.
Right.
And then I decided to get qualified in fitness myself.
Right.
So I did that. I went to the school that he told me to go to.
Right.
And then I opened up my own special populations gym down in Geelong. So I had no mirrors. I wanted the gym that I always wanted to belong to. I had treadmills for really big people. We were dealing with people 280 kilos.
How do they move?
Quite easily, because they wanted to. They came to us because they wanted to.
And no mirrors, which is a really, really good thing in a gym.
No thumping loud music. We had a little radio with a CD stacker in the corner of the gym. It was in a giant mill warehouse back in Geelong. And you could hear the music in the background, but it wasn't taking over. People had to go on the treadmills and have conversations with the person next to them.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because so much, what do you say, self-doubt and lack of self-worth goes with that weight. But and you see people, and I often see people walking around who are rather large, And I don't judge them. I just wonder what's going on in their life, because there's something going on in their life. If it's not a medical condition, there's emotional stuff going on there, which has brought them to the place that they are right there and then.
Yeah.
How do you approach them? How do you deal with that? How do you work with them? How do you just give them a little tap on the shoulder and say, it's okay?
Well, that's why I ended up writing Stop Being Fat, Love Yourself Skinny. It wasn't about being skinny. You know, people would look at the title and go, oh, that's going to teach me how to lose all my weight. Well, it is, but it's going to teach you how to love yourself more than anything.
And it's not a matter about being skinny, because I'd much prefer to see someone with a bit of fat on them than be anorexic or bulimic and have that eating disorder. Because I remember one girl that I saw, and I'll never get it out of my mind, and she was just like a skeleton with skin, no flesh, skin. So her teeth were protruding, her eyes were sunken in, her cheekbones poked out. There was nothing on her at all. And I just looked at her and remember her as what she was once upon a time, and that was that beautiful girl.
Yeah, yeah.
And just things take over, and it happens. All of a sudden you find yourself in this place where you don't know where to go and how to get out of it. And what it does to your body is destroy those organs, those heart, every major organ it destroys when you do things like this. Yep. So, I don't know, what do you do? When I was in the gym situation, you couldn't do anything with them, you couldn't approach them, you couldn't bar them from the place because they would just go and do something somewhere else anyway.
Exactly.
So, it was a catch-22 situation that you had to leave alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Until such time that they had to be admitted to hospital or do whatever needed to be done.
Sometimes it takes that moment of being admitted to a hospital, or for me having the funeral brochures put on the table, and you really have to get that wake-up call. But you have to be able to listen to it.
You have to want to hear it.
Yeah.
It has to be the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me then it was. So, I went and I opened my gym. I was extremely proud of it. Circumstances meant we had to close it and move town. That's fine. Things happen.
Life goes on.
Life goes on. So when I first met you, I was down to a size 12, 12 to 10, and still losing weight. And it was as I was getting the book out there and doing all the publicity, and my weight was starting to come back. And that's when I realised weight wasn't the issue. Thing. It was a symptom.
A symptom of, okay, we'll go back there again, diagnosis of cancer, Lyme disease. What do you call it?
Lyme-like illness.
Lyme-like illness, because you only had two out of the three. Yeah. 2 out of the 3. You have 2 children on the spectrum. You were divorced, you were anorexic, then you went to being
super morbidly obese, they called it.
Super morbidly, 144 kilos is
on a 5'3" person.
My goodness. It's just like you're a walking time bomb.
Totally.
When you have that much fat around your major organs.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow. And now you've turned that around. You've had your thyroid completely removed, so you're on thyroxine.
I'm on natural desiccated thyroid.
Oh, good. You had your thyroid removed and you had lymph nodes removed, and they did things in the hospital that weren't kosher to you, so you took yourself out and you started down the path of healing yourself.
Naturally.
How long ago was that?
So I am now 5.5 years post-surgery.
5.5 years post-surgery. Okay, and how are you?
I'm fine.
Fine? Healthy?
Fine. I have a couple of health issues which have resulted in the roller coaster that I was on.
Yeah.
But I deal with those now, and I keep them in check. I decided at one stage to completely come off my thyroid meds to see what would happen.
That was a silly move.
Don't anyone do that.
Silly move. Silly move.
I am rather anti-medical, but please don't do that unless you know what's happening. I did know what was happening. And
But you went back onto it because...
I had to go back onto
Yeah.
it because I actually came close to having a heart attack.
Whoa.
So I started blowing up like a beach ball again. I couldn't move my feet, couldn't mow my lawn, couldn't write anything. And as a writer, I need to be able to write
Yeah.
or type. I couldn't do any of that.
Right.
And I went, right, this is not good.
Okay. So you brought yourself back from
Yeah.
that. And you just... No, not just. You work with people to help them heal themselves
Totally.
and teach them naturally what
Yeah.
what they can and not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that other word, but I didn't want to say that other word. So, it's been a fascinating conversation. Now, we've only got a few minutes left.
Okay.
So, 2 tips that you would give someone out there who was in a situation where they don't feel good about themselves, they know there's some things not right with their body, what would they do?
Reach out to someone is the first thing. It's not your burden alone. I do a lot of 15-minute chats with people on the phone. If they don't become clients, that's fine. If they walk away with some education and understanding of what's going on, I'm happy. If they want to work with me, even better. But reach out to someone. Understand what's happening in your life. So make a list of the pros and cons of how you're feeling about everything. We have a thing called the Wheel of Life, which we'll have to talk about next time. And there's a lot of segments on that. One of those might not be working.
So the Wheel of Life consists of family, relationships,
career,
finances, physical,
health.
Emotional health,
Yeah.
all those things, yeah.
If one of those sectors isn't right, the wheel won't turn.
Yeah, because it's imbalanced.
Yeah. So you've got to look at each of those, make pros and cons, and really work out who you are and what you want to be. If you're not what you want to be now, how are you going to get there?
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, to really sit back and be honest with yourself and assess the situation and go and ask for help.
And it's not an easy thing to do.
No, asking for help is something that I couldn't do for many, many years, but I do now.
Yay.
So it's fabulous. Now it's time for the next show. Sam's not here this week, so it's Aussie music being played with Colin. And it is time for the news. I'm Faye Waterman. Thank you for joining me for a conversation with Faye. Thank you, Magic, for being here, Magic Barclay, for being here and having an amazing conversation.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, and it's bye for now, and it's news time.